So, for this first art style, I think a lot of people can agree on this, especially in countries outside of Japan. Studio Ghibli is a lot of people's first introduction to the anime medium, aside from like Pokemon and stuff, like the most serious side that anime has to offer. Admittedly, the Studio Ghibli art style is very difficult to replicate. It's very retro looking, it's not similar to a lot of modern anime, it's definitely more realistic. So I couldn't really copy it too closely as a kid, especially because I was very, very young. My first ever Studio Ghibli movie that I remember is definitely Spirited Away. I remember watching the whole thing through and thinking, whoa, I've never seen a cartoon like this. I'm only used to like Augie and the Cockroaches or something like that. I think Studio Ghibli affected my writing more than the art style. I've always liked very cute art styles, so the more realistic side didn't appeal to me as much as like the fantasy aspect of the stories. I feel like you can still see aspects of even Ocean Waves or Whisper of the Heart and the stuff I've been creating recently with fanime. Because I was so young, a lot of the stories, the characters were either much older than me, so I couldn't really connect with a lot of stories, or some I just didn't understand. I remember Kiki's delivery service was very difficult for me to understand as a kid. I kind of related to her kind of getting in that slump she got into. I understood that, but I didn't understand the reasons behind it as a kid. I think it's definitely something that's influenced how I perceive the fantasy genre even today. So this is the final picture. I don't really think it looked too much like Studio Ghibli. I tried to combine a lot of my favorite ones from it, and I tried to pick out characters that kind of looked like me. So the next artist I'm going to try and recreate is Miya Ikumi, the illustrator of the Tokyo Mew Mew manga. I remember watching this as a very young kid. I think it was a little after maybe Studio Ghibli started being shown on English TV. I remember a few anime shows coming to I think it was called Pop. This channel that had like a bunch of different types of cartoons from a lot of different countries, like Canada. I think this is where the spark for anime itself came from. Studio Ghibli is a bit different in the fact that it's a movie and not like series, but I was obsessed with Tokyo Mew Mew as a kid. I didn't know what anime was, but I knew I loved this show. I find it so strange now. I remember being like 3 years old and trying to dress up like the main character, Ichigo. It's a little cringy, but I have to remember how old I was. Eventually, Tokyo Mew Mew stopped being shown on UK TV in favor of like more new shows and stuff. I'm not sure if it did too well. I never remember any of my friends really talking about it at the time. And it came back into my life at a really critical point. So when I was 7, my parents, I guess you could call it a divorce. Yeah, they divorced, and back then I was trying to get any kind of semblance of my old life back, so I kept watching stuff I used to watch, and eventually, the name's a little difficult to remember, but I remember one day I just went, oh, Mew Mew Power, that was the name of it. Back in like 2010, you could go on YouTube and search up anime and watch them in like part 1 and part 2. And I don't think you can get that anymore, which is something I really do miss, because that was where my primary intake of anime came from. I remember as a kid, I just kind of tried to recreate a lot of the screenshots from the show. I think I was mainly influenced by other people on YouTube at the time who would do the same thing, and I go, whoa, that art's so amazing, I wish I could draw like that. I'm not a big fan of the art style anymore. I think it's very of its time. I do like the reboots art style. I'm very interested to see what that's going to be about and become. I do think there's definitely remnants of the style in my current style now. From the way she draws hair, eyes, bows especially, and the kind of big puffy dresses. Yeah, I definitely think you can see it now. I drew myself in the cafe uniform because I always thought it was the cutest outfit ever, and I actually still have the dream of wanting to work at a maid cafe, and hopefully it'll work. I think if I was a Mew Mew, maybe I'd be like Mew Lemon or Mew Honey to be more in theme with like the beef theme. I don't know if I did this too. I think I really struggled with the eyes. They're kind of drawn differently in the manga from the regular art, so maybe I'm just not used to that. Anyway, on to the next one. So the next style I'm trying to do is the Adventure Time style. I think this is similar with Tokyo Mew Mew, where at that time in my childhood when I was feeling very low, I used it as kind of an escape. This is very fancy though. I think I couldn't really get too much into it, especially because I think back when I was younger it used to be on Cartoon Network and you had to pay for that channel. And I was living with my grandma and she didn't want to pay for Cartoon Network. She's a grandma. So I had to watch it and kind of like, there'd be reruns on different channels that were free. And that was my only intake of Adventure Time, sadly. So I don't really get too much nostalgia, but Adventure Time is everywhere in my room. Maybe this is like a cardinal sin or something, but I cut up one of the anniversary books. I bought it when it ended. And I cut it up. Because I think it's nicer to be able to look at it every single day instead of just having it in this one book. But, feel free to crucify me in the comments section. Even though I didn't really get to watch Adventure Time much as a child, I think it has had a very big impact on my art style. Recently I've been trying to do more cartoony styles. I did a little bit of them in my childhood, but because I was obsessed with Tokyo Mew Mew, it was like anime. I can never draw cartoons again. So yeah, I do a very blobby art style now. Cartoons allow for a lot more flexibility when it comes to expressions or even movement that I'm really enjoying now that I'm trying out animation. So the next art style I'm trying is Natasha Allegri's Bee and Puppycat series. More specifically, the show she has. The art style she uses for the comics is different. I also haven't read the comics yet. I first came across Bee and Puppycat when the episodes were released on Channel Frederator. Immediately after watching it, I was enthralled. It was another of the kind of Studio Ghibli realization where I thought, wow, I've never seen this before. But I think it was a different feeling. Because I saw it when I was older, I was able to kind of understand Bee's struggles with finding a place in the world, finding things you're good at, and going from job to job, which I haven't done yet, but I'm about to go into very soon, which is scary. I think it was comforting seeing a character like Bee, even though she's from a fancy world, and seeing that Bee's doing okay. I think the way that the show presents Bee's struggles, and I'd call it more positive, not condemning her for not knowing what to do, not really celebrating it either, kind of like in that drifty liminal space. It was very comforting to me when I first watched it, and when I rewatched it again recently. I think the blobby cutesy kind of style and the aesthetics of the show have really combined with the older Adventure Time style I used to have to make what I'm using currently now for fanime. And this is the final piece. I'm not really sure if I'm too happy with this one, to be honest. I think the colors I picked out doesn't really match my character. I tried to color pick them from the show. I changed them a little bit, maybe that's where I went wrong. But I still really enjoyed doing this. I feel like I learned a lot. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope I didn't ramble too much. But maybe you enjoyed it. I hope. I do hope you enjoyed though. And tell me if there's any ideas akin to this, or maybe completely different ideas that you think you'd enjoy seeing from me in the future. Thank you so much, and bye bye!